والصلاة والسلام على سيد الحق أجمعين والقاسم محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Holy Quran, and whoever relies upon Allah, then he is sufficient for him. Indeed, Allah will accomplish His purpose, and Allah has already set for everything a decreed extent. The next hadith in the series of the book 40 Hadiths by Imam Kumayl talks about the concept of Tawakkul, which is related to the Quran verse that we just mentioned. And the purpose of the book 40 Hadiths is to promote and to teach 40 narrations from Rasulullah and from his family, in order that not only can we memorize these hadiths, as there's a narration which says that it's recommended for a Muslim to memorize 40 narrations, but we also need to understand them and break them down in a way in which we can understand the meaning behind them as well. This is because a lot of the narrations we have are difficult to understand if we just read them and we don't do a little exploring into the meaning and purpose behind them. And so the purpose of this book, in the eyes of the Sayyid, is to break them down into a comprehensive way where someone can understand the words of Rasulullah and of the Imam. So the hadith which talks about Tawakkul is from Shaykh al-Kumayl, who narrates it from Ali ibn Suwayd, who relates it from Abu al-Hasan al-Awwal. And Ali says to him, I asked the Imam about the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Holy Quran when he says, whoever puts his trust in God, then God suffices him. And the Imam replied back to him about that question. He said there are different types and different degrees of trust which a person can have in Allah. One of them is that you should put your trust in Allah in all of your affairs, and you should be happy with whatever God does to you, because you should be certain that He does not cease in His goodness and He does not cease in His grace towards you, and the command lies with Him. Then the Imam follows on and he says, so put your trust in God, put your trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, leave everything to Him and rely upon Him in regards to that, and everything else aside from that. When the hadith talks about Abu Hasan al-Awwal, what it means is Imam al-Kadhim alayhi salam. And when it talks about Abu Hasan al-Thani, that is about Imam al-Rida. And when it talks about Abu Hasan al-Thalith, that is Imam al-Hadi. But about the concept of tawakkul, which is mentioned in the hadith, you might ask, what is tawakkul? It literally means an admission or admitting that you are unable to, and you have the inability and reliance on someone or something other than yourself. So there are different scholars who have given different explanations and meanings about tawakkul, and they've given examples of how to describe it. Some people said that tawakkul means entrusting all the matters in your life to God and relying upon Him. And some of the ulama have said that tawakkul means throwing your body down in prostration into sajda, in servitude, and in doing everything in your life to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and also attaching your heart to His Lordship. That is, it means that you need to use your body and your bodily powers in obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and focusing everything which you do for His sake and in being obedient to Him, and also from staying away and from refraining from the matters of the heart, and putting it all in the trust of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, when breaking down the hadith, the Sayyid explains something very interesting. He says that there are common people among the monotheists, among the Muslim people, amongst those who believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The normal people, the ones who just go along with it, they consider Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be the creator of everything in this world. They don't doubt that He is the person, He is the individual who made everything in this world, and that He controls everything. However, they don't believe in the all-embracing Lordship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they consider His authority and His control over everything as being limited. They don't understand the full capacity of what Allah controls. As a matter of habit, verbally, what they will do is that they might often declare, for example, that Allah has control over all matters and that He has power over all things. For example, when they say Allahu Akbar, or they say something similar to this, verbally they're just so used to saying it that they don't comprehend the true meaning and the true extent behind these statements. Their actual station and what they say is not the same as what the truth actually is, neither in respect of their knowledge or in terms of their faith or their experience. And the Sayyid says that this type of person, to which we also belong, this is normal amongst most people, most Muslims. They actually have no real true knowledge about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's Lordship. And their faith in Tawheed is deficient as a result. It means they don't have the full grasp and understanding of Tawheed because they have not understood the capabilities of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the fact that He is limitless. Hence, they also don't have the trait or the station of Tawakkul, except only by what they say verbally on their tongue. As a result of that, when a person doesn't have Tawakkul, it means that they do not rely on anything which happens to them in this world, except on superficial causes or the material world or material things which happen to them. Sometimes if they turn their attention towards Allah and they ask something of Him, they only do so because they are used to seeing other people doing it. It is a form of imitation for them. Or because they are scared and they are doing it out of caution. So they don't see any harm in it, but they allow a possibility of benefit. So there is a type of tawakkul inside that person. Although, whenever they see something apparent in front of them, something in this world which they can rely on, and which is favourable to them, they forget about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They may think that something which happened to them is not the result of Allah's wish and Allah's plan, and as such they forget about His control over all things. Now there's also a group of people who we call the true believers in Tawakkul. And this group of people, and what you can find in them, is the conviction in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's way over creation, and it has went into their heart and they have truly understood it. These people are the ones who have firm faith in everything in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decrees and determines. And it is these people who have the true trait of tawakkul. And the person who has this is of the highest degree, and he is content at whatever happens to him because he understands that Allah's plan and whatever Allah declares and decrees in his heart is the right thing. So their heart is detached from anything which happens in this world and is only attached to the Lordship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They only rely on what He declares to them, and they have full trust in this, and they don't doubt for 1 minute anything which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has bestowed upon them. Now Imam Rida alayhi salam has said that faith and having faith has 4 pillars. The first one is tawakkul on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is then to be pleased with His decree, it is then to surrender to all of His orders, and the last one is completely entrusting all of your affairs to Allah. And the Holy Quran also gives us examples of tawakkul and what we can see from history, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Himself has said. An example of this is the tawakkul which was shown when Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and his companions, in regard to the security from the evil of the people who believed in idols, at the time the Quran said that people have gathered against you, therefore fear them, but it increased them in faith, and they said Allah is sufficient for us and an excellent trustee is He. That shows that even though there was fear instilled amongst people, and even though it looked as though things may be bad for the Prophet and his companions at that time, they did not have any fear because they put their full trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to deliver a beneficial outcome for them, even if that outcome was not beneficial at first glance or at first instance. So why then should we even want to attain tawakkul? Is it something we need to obtain, or is it just something which is beneficial for us? Well, the trait of tawakkul, or putting trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for all of your affairs, for some people it's not as obvious to see the benefits in, surprisingly. And the best way to explain why some people don't see the need and the necessity to have tawakkul is because, in my opinion, the concept doesn't have clear, obvious and overt symptoms. The bottom line is, however, that the Holy Quran strongly emphasizes the benefits of this trait multiple times and in different verses. It is a requirement for a believer, and this is the full stop. And we'll go into a little bit of detail about why it is something which the believers must hold tightly onto. In Munajat al-Sha'baniyah of Amir al-Mu'mineen Imam Ali alayhi salam, we see the words, "My Lord, grant me complete severance of my relations with everything else and my total submission to you." What does that show? It shows that the Imam is asking very clearly to sever all of the ties which he has with this world and to put everything which he owns, every feeling, every bit of trust that he has in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and what Allah will grant for him. Now surely this should show you the importance of having this trait. And our goal and our purpose is to endeavour to be of the followers and to be of the imitators of the Imams and of the Holy Prophet. And this is the way in which we need to think to be of these people. We need to put aside any bad thing which happens to us and take away the despair which we may feel as a result and realise that this is something which Allah has bestowed upon us for a reason. And we need to trust in that reason why He has bestowed that upon us. And in our Islamic traditions, Tawakkul has also been highly praised as the firm sign of someone's faith. It is a firm sign of piety and complete trust and devotion to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And only those who enjoy the true friendship of God and the true understanding of God can always trust Him under any circumstance and condition which may be present in their lives. A person's tawakkul in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also guarantees his success not only in this world but in the hereafter, in the akhirah, the eternal life after this one. No matter how difficult the task is, and no matter how severe and harsh the conditions that a person may be going through in this world are, or how powerful the enemies that he is facing are, when the person has complete trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to take him out of these burdens, to take him out of these situations, even if it is not in this life, but in the next, and this is tawakkul. And in Bahar al-Anwar, we see Amir al-Mu'mineen say that tawakkul on Allah is the source of relief from every evil, and it protects you from every enemy. Now you can understand this pretty simply. If you have faith in whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts forward for you in this life, even if it may be something which on the face of things is difficult, a turmoil, something which is designed to test you, if you have faith in that everything is going to be okay, and you have faith that this has been done for a good, beneficial reason for you, then you're protected from any evil which comes your way, and this challenge which you're facing is not as difficult as it may seem on the surface. So how does a person get tawakkul? How do they attain that trait? In order to develop your trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you need to first change your view about His own existence, about the life of this world, about all of the relationships which you have with your family, with your friends, with random people, with Muslims. You need to become realistic about yourself, and you need to realize and lower yourself down in humility and in humbleness to realize that you are just a mere creature, a mere creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah being the creator, the Almighty, the one who has created the universe and everything which is in it, from the tiniest of particles up until the mightiest of different creatures. Once you ground yourself and you realize that you're just a simple creature of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then you can build on having tawakkul. You also need to realize that Allah is the ultimate source of every bounty, of every success, of every good thing. And that no harm can reach you from even the most powerful enemy except with the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and similarly, no benefit. And it is important that a person always thinks and reflects and ponders upon this. Because when they do that, then they will slowly develop their faith in God, their faith in Allah. And when you place your hope and your trust in Him, and you often pray to Him, and you think always about the purpose of this life and how you can please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this world, then surely the hereafter is a place which is beneficial for you. However, the person who then begins to forget about Allah as his creator, and as his provider, and attributes all of the successes that he has in this world to something other than Allah, something material and worldly, then this person is more likely to suffer from harm and losses from the person who accepts anything which Allah gives to him in good faith. If a believer who places his trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala entirely and in all of the affairs which are placed upon him, then that person begins being saved from a range of different diseases such as anxiety, such as depression, such as other psychological illnesses, because that person has something to cling on to. He knows that at the end there will be something more beneficial for him because he has placed his trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and because of his relationship with Allah. And his hope in Allah will provide him with strong support no matter what tragedy or whatever negative occurrence comes into his life. And he will find that he has support even in the most difficult of times and circumstances, and he will be given strength as a result of it. Just to conclude, I'll finish with a narration from the Hadiths, where the Holy Prophet Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, "Whoever wishes to be the most powerful person amongst people must always trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala." Just to reiterate, this Saturday at 1 p.m. is a protest for Palestine. It's either in George Square or Buchanan Street, and it's important that we go and continue to show our support and solidarity with the people of Gaza who are being slaughtered even until this day. And it's our duty, if we're not doing anything, to go and participate in these demonstrations for Palestine and to show our support for them, to show support for oppressed people, for the Muslims, for the men, women and children who are being slaughtered. And as always, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant victory to the mu'mineen and to the mujahideen. And for all of the shuhada, especially in Gaza and Hayat al-Sha'bi, please recite Surah Al-Fatiha after salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.